Like any other line of work, mistakes are made in the world of movie making. However, unlike most other lines of work, movie making allows for the rectification of said mistakes without any harm being done, thanks to the people behind the movies having the ability to reshoot and reproduce any scenes in which mistakes are made. That being said, some mistakes actually occur without anyone realizing, and that means they can end up being included in the finished production. In this video, we'll take a look at some examples of that happening. Here are 10 shocking movie mistakes that slipped into the final film. Zootopia. 2016 Zootopia has quickly cemented itself as one of the greatest animated movies of all time, but it certainly isn't without its flaws, mostly in the form of continuity errors. In fact, it's littered with mistakes, one of which occurs when the Black Panther Manchus turns savage and chases Judy and Nick through the forest. Judy clearly drops her walkie-talkie and it falls quite a long way below where she's running. However, a few moments later, it's inexplicably reattached to her belt, and we don't believe she can just call it back to her like Thor does with Mjolnir.
Clever fox.
Deadpool. The awesome Deadpool movie featured Ryan Reynolds starring as the titular Marvel antihero, who is known for his amazing ability to heal from almost any injury very quickly. But if the movie is to be believed, his costume has that same ability too. Of course, it doesn't really. God damn it! But in Deadpool's epic climactic fight with Ed Skrine's Ajax, the merc with a mouth gets stabbed in the head. Not only does his head heal fairly quickly, but the resulting hole in his mask also miraculously disappears once the knife is removed from the wound. I could really use some clothes like that.
Yep, that's a good one.
Jurassic Park. The 1993 offering brought dinosaurs to life in a way no movie ever had before it, using almost entirely practical effects to do so, and that resulted in some fantastic scenes, as well as some glaring mistakes. In the scene in which the velociraptors enter the kitchen in the visitor center, where Lex and Tim are terrified and hiding, as the first raptor makes its way through the door, you can clearly see a member of the animatronics team's hand reaching out to steady the creature's tail. Way to spoil the illusion, douchebag! Avatar. As the highest grossing movie of all time by quite a large margin, you'd be forgiven for thinking that 2009's Avatar was the perfect movie. It is, in fact, far from it, as it contains a surprisingly high number of mistakes. In this instance, the mistake we're referring to happens when Giovanni Ribisi's Parker Selfridge is practicing his putting in one of the RDA's control rooms. He has 3 golf balls and is shown putting one of them, but the other 2 spontaneously change from being close to each other, to then being apart, to then being close to each other again. Frozen. Frozen is nothing short of a phenomenon. The success and popularity of the 2013 movie is unprecedented, and it remains the highest grossing animated movie of all time to this day, but it had some glaring errors in it. When Anna enters the art gallery singing For the First Time in Forever, there's a wide shot of the room that shows that there are no seats in there. However, when she starts jumping in front of paintings and posing, she leaps off a seat to do so, a seat that clearly appeared out of thin air as if it wasn't there just seconds before. Titanic. Titanic is the second highest grossing movie of all time, and is generally perceived as being a cinematic masterpiece. The acting was first class, as was the directing of James Cameron, and the intricate set designs were unbelievably high in detail. But there were some major flaws in the movie. A prime example comes in the form of inconsistencies in the design of the ship itself. Take the front of the ship, for example. The gaps in the railings changed sizes, the deck anchor characteristics changed dramatically, and the very front point of the ship changes its shape. And that doesn't even come close to covering all mistakes of that nature. Star Wars Episode 4: A New Hope. The original 1977 film is littered with mistakes. One such mistake occurs when Obi-Wan and Luke enter the Mos Eisley spaceport and trick the stormtroopers into letting them in by using the Force.
You don't need to see his identification.
One particular stormtrooper, who is standing behind their vehicle, suddenly disappears in an instant. He's there in one shot and completely gone in the next. Given that we don't believe he possessed magical powers, that's an error.
What?
You're far too trusting.
The Goonies. Ah, the Goonies. So quintessentially 80s, and a throwback to the years when kids could still be kids. But enough of all that mushy, sentimental, nostalgic stuff. We're here to point out a silly mistake that occurred before the movie had even properly started. During the opening credits, when we're introduced to Jonathan Ke Huy Quan's Data, the young inventor is seen testing out a new gadget. He fires a sucker at a trash can, which is full of trash, and is inadvertently dragged towards it before falling in. However, when he falls in, it has suddenly become empty. Self-emptying trash cans? Whatever next. Despicable Me. One of the finest animated movies to ever hit cinemas, 2010's Despicable Me contains a plethora of memorable scenes, one of which takes place in an amusement park, when Gru is reluctantly persuaded into going there by his adoptive daughters. A mistake occurs in this particular scene when Gru and the girls ride on a roller coaster. When Gru gets onto the roller coaster, the cart he gets in clearly has a pink safety bar on it. However, when he exits the cart after the ride has come to an end, the safety bar has completely disappeared. Unless he tore it off in sheer terror during the ride, that wasn't meant to be the case. Captain America: Civil War. The highest grossing movie of 2016 so far, even Captain America: Civil War contained a number of mistakes, and one of them came courtesy of the usually so meticulous Robert Downey Jr. In the scene in which the Avengers first speak to the United States Secretary of State Thaddeus Ross, Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark alternates between wearing a wedding ring and not wearing a wedding ring. Downey Jr. is, of course, married in real life, but Tony Stark isn't married in the MCU, so this obviously comes courtesy of some rare absent-mindedness on the part of the Oscar-nominated actor. Bad Robert. Thanks for watching our video about shocking movie mistakes that slipped into the final film. Did you enjoy this video? Do you know of any other movie mistakes that were kept in? Have your say in the comments section below, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more great videos like this one.